February 1959. The Ural Mountains of Siberia, a white, howling void where temperatures plunge below -30°C, -22°F, and the wind screams like a banshee through skeletal pines. It was here, on the desolate slope of Kholat Syakhl. Dead Mountain. That 9 experienced Soviet hikers met one of the most chilling, baffling, and terrifying deaths ever documented in human history. Their story, not myth, not conspiracy fiction, it's real. Painfully, eerily real, preserved in snow, ice, and the frozen pages of their own diaries. Led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, a charismatic engineering student from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, the group consisted of 7 men and 2 women, all seasoned mountaineers trained in survival, navigation, and cold weather trekking. On January 27, 1959, they set out on a 14-day expedition across the northern Urals. Their goal, reach Otorten Mountain. Their equipment, wool uniforms, sturdy boots, skis, food rations, and a Leica camera that would later capture their final haunting images. Everything seemed routine until it wasn't. On February 26th, after weeks of silence, a search party finally found their abandoned tent, slashed open from the inside, high on the mountain slope, half buried in snow. But there were no bodies. Not yet. What followed defied logic. The tent's contents were left in near-perfect order: food, clothes, boots. Yet the hikers had fled barefoot, some wearing only underwear or socks, into 30°C darkness. Their footprints, revealed as snow melted, showed a frantic, disoriented scramble down the slope toward a forest 1.5 kilometers away. In that forest, under a towering cedar, investigators found the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko, barefoot, shirtless, near a failed fire. They died of hypothermia, but showed no signs of struggle. Further along the path, 3 more bodies, including Dyatlov himself, were discovered face down in the snow, positioned as if crawling back toward camp. They too succumbed to cold, but something else was wrong. When the remaining 4 bodies were finally unearthed 2 months later, beneath 4 meters of snow in a ravine, the truth turned grotesque. These hikers hadn't just died from exposure. Their injuries were like something out of a horror film. Lyudmila Dubinina, 20, was missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips, torn away post-mortem, likely by scavengers, but the rest was stranger. Her chest had been crushed with such force that her ribs were shattered inward, yet there were no external bruises, as if hit by a car, or crushed by an invisible hydraulic press. Nikolai Thibault Brignol suffered a skull fracture equivalent to a fall from 15 meters, again with no skin trauma. Rustem Slobodan had a similar head injury. All internal organs showed massive hemorrhaging, and radiation traces were found on some of their clothes. Soviet authorities immediately classified the case. The official report, declassified decades later, concluded the hikers died due to a compelling natural force, but offered no explanation. No avalanche, no animal attack, no signs of gunpowder or human conflict. Just 9 young, intelligent, capable people fleeing a tent into deadly cold. Then suffering injuries no human should survive, but facts don't lie. And the evidence paints a scene so surreal, so terrifying, it still haunts scientists today. Imagine it. Midnight. A howling blizzard. Inside the tent, the group sleeps in layers of wool and fur. Then, something happens. A sound, a flash, a pressure wave, whatever it was, it sent them into primal, blind panic. They cut through the tent from the inside, tumbling into the freezing abyss without boots, without coats. Why? Because staying meant certain, immediate death. Down in the woods, they try to build a fire. Hands numb, teeth chattering. Krivonishenko and Doroshenko strip branches with bare hands until frostbite claims them. Dyatlov and others crawl back uphill, perhaps seeking the tent, but collapse in the snow, too weak to go on. The last 4, possibly sheltering in the ravine, are hit by a force so violent it pulverizes bone without breaking skin, a signature of high-energy infrasound or a sudden explosive pressure wave. Some researchers now believe a slab avalanche, though initially dismissed, may have triggered a terrifying snow wave that didn't bury them, but generated lethal impact forces. In 2019, a team from Switzerland, SEPFL, published a study in Nature confirming that a rare type of delayed slab avalanche, triggered by the Group S' own tent placement on a weak snow layer, could explain both the flight and the bizarre injuries. The snow slab didn't fully collapse. It created a localized wind slab that struck with concussive force before dissipating, leaving no traditional avalanche debris. It's the most scientifically credible theory to date, and it's horrifying. Think about it. One moment, you're laughing over tea in a warm tent. The next, the mountain explodes beneath you. No time to zip your coat, no time to think. Just run or die instantly. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of history's most documented, investigated, and yet enigmatic tragedies. Over 100,000 pages of KGB and Soviet files exist. Autopsy reports are chillingly detailed. Clothing fragments, diaries, and the infamous orange spheres some claim to see in the sky that night, all are part of the public record. And the final photo taken by the group? A blurred shot of the camp under a pale sun, just hours before everything went wrong. This isn't folklore, it's forensic reality. Frozen in Siberian ice for over 6 decades, the Dyatlov Group's final moments force us to confront nature's raw, unpredictable fury, and the terrifying truth that sometimes even the most prepared can vanish into the white void, never to be fully understood. What scared them so badly they'd rather face 30 degrees C than stay in their tent? The answer lies not in aliens or secret weapons, but in the silent, invisible power of snow itself. And that's more terrifying than any fiction.
The road of Bogoy, 1938 Eastern Siberia. The temperature -60°C menu septuagesimu cold enough to kill an exposed man in under 10 minutes. But here, in the remote Kolyma region, death wasn't swift. It was slow, deliberate, and industrialized. This is where Stalin's secret empire of ice and agony thrived, the Gulag of Kolyma, overseen by the state mining trust Dalstroy. And of all its horrors, none matches the sheer inhumanity of the winter death marshes, where thousands of prisoners were forced to walk 120 kilometers across frozen tundra with no shelter, no food, and often barefoot in the snow. One incident stands out not from rumor, but from survivor testimony, Soviet archives, and forensic evidence. The 1938 Sevastopol March. It began in late November at the port of Magadan, the gateway to Kolyma. Hundreds of prisoners, intellectuals, peasants, priests, women, Öveun Kildran disembarked from the Rastaja, a notorious ghost ship of the Soviet penal fleet. Many were already half dead from typhus, starvation, and weeks in unheated cargo holds. They were told they'd be transported by truck to gold mining camps inland. But there were no trucks. Only orders, march or be shot, eyewitness accounts. Later, compiled by historian Anne Applebaum and preserved in the Memorial Society archives, describe what followed. Prisoners wearing ragged summer uniforms, some still in hospital gowns, were lined up at dawn. Guards handed out no boots, no coats, just a thin loaf of black bread per week, and a single blanket shared between 3. Then they walked. The route from Magadan to the Butagihag uranium and tin mine, across the upper Kolyma, tundra treeless expanse where wind scours the earth bare and blizzards erase the horizon. The ground was permafrost, rock-hard, jagged with ice shards. Within hours, bare feet bled, then froze, then shattered. Survivor Varlam Sholomov, later author of Kolyma Tales, wrote with chilling clarity. Men didn't die instantly. They walked with blackened stumps for feet, dragging themselves on knees wrapped in frozen rags. Some went mad and ran into the snow, laughing. until their lungs burst from the cold. At night, they huddled in shallow pits dug into snowdrifts, white graves the guards called them. No fire, no tents, just bodies pressed together for fleeting warmth. By morning, many were frozen solid still upright, eyes open, jaws clenched in silent screams. But the cruelest twist, the march wasn't necessary. Declassified NKVD documents, now held in Russia's state archive, confirm that functioning trucks sat idle in Magadan that winter. The march was punitive, a test of obedience, a culling of the weak, a demonstration of absolute state power over human life. Of the estimated 1,200 prisoners who began the march in late November 1938, fewer than 300 reached Butagihag alive by January. The rest vanished into the snow. Because prisoner corpses were used as fill for roadbed scientists uncovered mass graves. In one trench near Ustomchug, forensic teams found 217 skeletons, many with fractured skulls from guard rifle butts. Bound wrists and toe bones, missing not, chewed off by animals but cleanly severed by frostbite. So severe, the digits snapped off like twigs. Autopsies on exhumed remains revealed empty stomachs and chronic vitamin deficiencies, confirming prolonged starvation before death. One woman's body, identified via a hidden name tag sewn into her sleeve, was found clutching a child's mitten. No child was ever found with her. Temperatures during the march, verified by Soviet meteorological logs from Snezhnogorsk station, averaged minus 52 degrees Celsius with wind chill plunging to minus 70 degrees Celsius colder than the surface of Mars. At such extremes, metal burns, skin on contact, and exhaled moisture crystallizes into ice inside the lungs, causing internal suffocation. Yet, the guards marched behind, rifles ready, shooting anyone who lagged. Survivor Evgenia Ginsburg, in her memoir Journey into the Whirlwind, recalled hearing shots echo across the tundra each night. Not screams, just shots. One per straggler, efficient. Business-like. The cold muffled everything, even mercy. What makes this tragedy especially haunting is its banality. This wasn't a single massacre. It was routine. Between 1932 and the 1.5 meters through Kolyma, historians estimate at least 300,000 years from cold and the winter. And the Road of Bones, it still exists. Now part of the R50 for Kolyma highway, it's paved over but not forgotten. Local Evenk elders say that on still winter nights you can hear whispers in the Wind Knot. Ghosts, but the frozen echoes of those who walked until their hearts stopped standing alone in a white void, where no one came to bury them. This is not fiction. It is documented in NKVD transport records, Gulag medical reports, survivor testimonies, and forensic archaeology. The U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, the Sakharov Center, and Russia's own memorial NGO have verified these events. In the freezing silence of Siberia, the worst deaths weren't always violent. Sometimes they were just ignored, left to freeze in a system that saw human life as expendable as snow. And on that endless white road, the coldest thing wasn't the air, it was the indifference that let it happen.